Have you ever had the moment where you're going about your business, attending classes, studying hard for an exam, or maybe you have a job, working your 9 to 5 for who knows how long, when all of a sudden it hits you. A wave of nostalgia comes out of nowhere, and you're transported back in time to the good old days, the simpler days of hanging out with your friends during or after school. And whatever you were doing at that moment, you were doing it without the care in the world. The future didn't seem to matter yet, and all you wanted in life was to experience that happiness and joy every day over and over again. Well, you see, that's exactly what I felt when I watched Honey and Clover. Most anime don't really show what life is like for a character beyond high school. That is because, in a high school setting, time doesn't really matter to the characters, since students are usually focused on assignments or friends without worrying about the future. This is exactly what makes Honey and Clover so unique. Since the story is set in college, the characters are constantly thinking about what they're going to do in the future, what kind of career they are pursuing, and how they are going to do it. The story revolves around 5 characters as they bond with each other, but also progress with their lives and career goals as time goes on. There is Morita, who has been in college for about 6 years, studying sculpture, and hasn't graduated yet, nor does it seem like he plans to. He tends to focus on generating money, and usually goes out for art gigs, having to miss a month of school at a time. Then there's Mayama, the serious and responsible architecture student, who is getting ready to graduate and look for a job. He tends to quarrel with Morita, as they're complete opposites, despite being close friends. You also got Yamada, the popular pretty girl who is into pottery, and is friends with everyone, including the main heroine of the story, Hagami. Hagami, a freshman coming in on a recommendation from her cousin, who is a professor at the college, is an art prodigy, capable of putting anything from vision to paper. With her sheltered upbringing and talent, she tends to be shy among strangers, and struggles to find other freshmen to be friends with. And finally, there's Takemono, the narrator and main protagonist of the story, who is a second-year student, and, like Mayama, studies architecture. But unlike the rest of his peers, he is neither talented nor has a clear vision of what he wants to be in the future. Watching how all of these characters interact in the show also draws attention to the various different relationship dynamics that are usually not found in romance anime. The college setting puts a more unique twist on the character's ability to pursue a relationship. You see, a lot of romance shows will tend to show you the excitement, the joy, or the happiness of being in love or progressing to one. And while I appreciate the feel-good vibes that these type of anime produce, at the end of the day, it's just for fun, and doesn't feel too realistic. Honey and Clover shows the joyful moments of romance, displaying the reality of being in a relationship. When you're in college, you now have to start thinking about the future ahead of you, and how the relationship will affect your career. A lot of relationships end up not working out, especially if 2 people have conflicting life or career goals, and can't compromise on them. Just emphasizing on this realism makes the show all more prominent and more relatable than any show I've watched. For example, you have Hagami, coming in as a freshman with Morita and Takemono being immediately entranced by her beauty, but deciding not to act on those feelings, since they have their own problems to face. Next, you have Mayama, chasing someone who he's working under, as he faces the problem of having a better pay or staying for something that could be one-sided. Then you have Yamada, who has known Mayama for years, hopelessly chasing after him since the beginning of their college life together. Romance shows tend to lead you towards the perception that love is a number one priority. While it is important, your dreams and passion are not something that should be easily swept aside. As time passes, you see the characters develop as they try to pursue their goals, which heavily impacts the romance between them, making the anime all too real. While Honey and Clover is still a slice-of-life romance anime filled with happy and funny moments, it would sometimes show that sweetness is usually accompanied by luck, hence the name of the show itself, with the characters having to struggle and work hard, only to end up with a bittersweet result at best, as if to remind the audience that not everything is meant to be. And if you think about it, our lives here, behind the screen, are kind of the same. Everything starts out innocent at first, then bit by bit, without you even realizing it, the responsibilities slowly start piling up. Exams, applications, more exams, interviews, internships, full-time jobs, constantly thinking about the future. It all becomes so mundane and so ingrained into our minds that at some point you stop counting. And now here you are, as if awoken from a long dream, reminiscing. The reason why Honey and Clover is one of my favorite anime of all time is not because it's just another romance anime, but because as a young adult myself, it made me feel nostalgic of the memories of all the times I spent hanging out with my closest friends who have now grown up and moved on with their lives. I'd argue one of the most important themes of the show is time, and how the way we spend it changes at different points in our lives. As I've mentioned, time doesn't really matter in a high school setting, unless it's about preparing for college. But once you're in college, time becomes just much of a resource as money, and if you're not careful, you may be bankrupt before you know it. Seconds become minutes, minutes become days, months, years, and before you know it, you've graduated. And if you hadn't made the most of it, it'd be gone forever. This is something that I think we can all relate to, in both reality and fiction. Thanks for watching.